Hi, welcome to this webinar on how and why to run a cricket gear reuse scheme. I'm Martin Charter from the Centre for Sustainable Design at UCA in Farnham, and this particular webinar is delivered via the Cricket Gear Reuse project that is funded by UKRI with the support of various stakeholders, including the Ianson League. What I'm going to do is sort of spell out briefly the very practical elements in putting together a cricket gear reuse scheme. So provide a bit of background on the project and various information, details of the Lord's Taverners cricket gear recycling scheme, lessons from other initiatives, the why, what, and how to run cricket gear reuse schemes, bit of an overview of the local pilot projects we are running in the Farnham area and upwards towards Wandsworth, and then highlight some of the downloadable tools and resources that can be accessed to help run cricket gear reuse programs either in clubs or leagues, and then providing a few contact details. So we've been running a series of projects around the whole area of circularity of cricket gear, including the development of some new cricket pads. And we've got some publicity in various magazines, including The Cricketer. This project, the Cricket Gear Reuse project, fits within this broader set of projects we are doing. So what's the essence sitting behind this project? Well, cricket is an expensive sport. As Moeen Ali has highlighted recently in the media, cricket gear is expensive, playing cricket is expensive. We need to find easier ways to allow access from people from underprivileged backgrounds and actually in state schools who can't afford to buy bats, pads, and gloves. So as he says, something needs to be done. What we have is perhaps 5 or so cricket gear reuse schemes in the UK, and the most notable one is the Lord's Taverners cricket gear recycling program that effectively is a reuse program that sends gear throughout the world. Some comes back into the UK, but primarily it's known for the gear it distributes around the world. There are some other cricket gear reuse schemes at a club level, but these really haven't been documented. And this is sort of an issue that needs further investigation. So from research we've done at the Centre for Sustainable Design, we recognise, or we understand there is significant levels of cricket gear coming to the end of life, both significant in terms of the sort of number of items and also the weight of those items. And essentially, either a lot of cricket gear is going to the end of life, or there's a lot of stored cricket gear in attics, garages, backs of clubs. But the whole area is really not really being documented. And this is the first attempt to put some numbers on this. But there's a significant amount of gear that is not being reused. So this particular project, as we highlighted, tries to sort of look at the whole, what I call golden triangle. If we could enable some of that cricket gear that's stored, if you like, in attics and, garages and backs of clubs, if we could release some of that cricket gear for reuse, this may well enable more people to play the game in state schools, in underprivileged groups, leading to better sort of mental, physical, community well-being, but also importantly, reuse deals with the rising costs of cricket gear, which are making it unaffordable, particularly for some parents to allow some of their kids to play, or both, or if they have more than one sets of kids making difficult decisions. So essentially, at the heart of the Cricket Gear reuse project is very simply the drop-off or donation of cricket gear uh, to clubs that is then stored for a short period of time and then released through collection events where perhaps ideally schools and underprivileged groups maybe get early access to the cricket gear and then the general playing population. The cricket gear, after donation is checked and sorted, and within the local schemes in the Farnham area, helmets, whilst they are going to be collected, will not be made available for reuse. Both Surrey Cricket Foundation and Lord's Taverners will use or will collect cricket helmets, but for a distribution externally. So importantly, this is all free, and this really helps move some of those stored items, from the attics or the garages, etc., into use. But these schemes require solid planning. There are logistics and communication needs. So as I highlighted, Lord's Taverners are the most organised and well-run cricket gear reuse program, and they have collection sites throughout the UK. They have a warehouse in Ipswich, and the gear is shipped throughout the UK and to the rest of the world, from places as in Africa like Rwanda and Nigeria, to South America, for example, Brazil, and actually throughout Europe, including places like Serbia. So it's a very diverse set of groups, and countries that our gear is distributed to, particularly outside the UK. And what we've also identified is a series of cricket gear reduce initiatives that have been established by cricket foundations, particularly county cricket foundations. And the most organised are the Cricket Kit scheme from Yorkshire and the Get Set weekend from Gloucestershire. The Yorkshire programme is spread throughout the county, and the Gloucestershire programme is a one-off event. We also identified the Derbyshire Cricket Foundation project Kit Out Derbyshire, but really have got less information on that programme. Some key lessons in terms of running these schemes before we delve a little bit more detail to the Yorkshire and Gloucestershire schemes is that obviously club mailing lists are really important. If you can mail out to members, of the county cricket clubs, this can help identify donators and also potentially, organisations that need cricket gear. As a sort of incentive, what both schemes has found useful is making professional team kit available to audiences to get people through the door. It's really important within these schemes to have a make it happen type of person running them, and this is equally true, at any club level. Again, drop off and collection events or processes, and these may be slightly different, that I'll highlight. Particularly the Yorkshire scheme have really set up communications with schools and clubs and maybe refugee groups to identify needs for the donated gear that they can help distribute to before opening up to the general playing population. Again, as highlighted earlier, there's a need for engagement and media campaigns to raise awareness of these schemes. Branding can be quite useful, and particularly in Yorkshire and Gloucestershire, they've now set up donation hubs. So the Cricket Kit program was driven by a core person Very important to have that driving force. This was a lady called Kendall in Yorkshire. And what we had in Yorkshire was a drop-off scheme initially at the Headingley Cricket Ground, where there was a cage and gear was donated into this cage in the Headingley community nets. But now this has expanded into 3 locations throughout Yorkshire, the initial one in Leeds, a second one in Sheffield, and a new one in Bradford. So the program is expanded, and there are various lessons that are being learnt as the program goes forward over its 2 or 3 year timescale. Also, Gloucestershire Cricket Foundation have set up its own Get Set weekend that is more of an event-based initiative. So gear is collected and then are made available on a date, neatly laid out, and then people will come and collect that. However, it appears that now there are further collection hubs that have been set up within the initiative, as it is expanded. So, feeding into the main initiative. We also recently identified that Derbyshire Cricket Foundation set up a scheme, we believe last year, and this was, again, an event-based initiative. Indeed, also some clubs have set up cricket kit reuse schemes. This is one in Haslingden Cricket Club, but again, as highlighted, it's been quite difficult to identify what's going on at a club level. We believe probably there are activities, but this has just not been well documented or coordinated. So what we're looking at within the Surrey area is we're setting up, in effect, 3 programs, 2 within the Farnham area, one at Frensham Cricket Club that will run from March to April, and one in Rowledge Cricket Club that will run from April to May. And both will have, drop-off dates and collection dates. And this has been well supported by the Ianson League and the and Weydon School, who've also helped communicate the initiative to other schools in its academy. And now Ash Manor School have identified cricket gear needs, and we will be working with Frensham and Rowledge to help distribute some cricket gear to Ash Manor and other schools and other groups as we move forward. We're also setting up a scheme with Spencer Cricket Club, although part of the Surrey Championship League are based in Wandsworth, and a series of drop-offs and collections are being organised between March and April. This is being supported by Surrey Cricket Foundation, and Spencer are interested in this initiative as a pilot for a longer-term initiative. Spencer are a large club with 1,500 playing members, so this will be, there are logistics involved with such a large number of people moving through their programs. Moving to the real practicalities of running a cricket gear reuse program. Well, you need an organizer, you need management. So maybe the club chair or captain should take oversight of cricket gear reuse program. And you will also need a lead volunteer or volunteers and to help with drop-off collection, and having your sort of core group set up is really essential. So yeah, people are important to make these happen. The main roles and responsibilities will be of the The core group will be an oversight and leadership, helping enroll others to get involved. Also planning and coordination, so planning out the whole process of donation and collection, the drop-off, the sorting, the collection, and what happens to any remainder gear, so organising the logistics with the Surrey Cricket Foundation and Lord Taverners of any excess gear, and particularly helmets. There will need to be some budget, but it doesn't have to be that expensive. Particularly, you can reutilize a lot of tables and chairs, in donation events, where you have perhaps a registration desk, so there will be hopefully no need to buy any tables or chairs. There may need to be some, depending on how far one wants to go with the donation and collection events, there may be need, for some buying some refreshments. Key thing that we would recommend is some sort of ton bags where cricket gear is placed after donation, that then helps in terms of sorting and then provision for collection. But really, there shouldn't need to be a lot of cost associated with it. The main cost is people's time. So again, the logistics, again, if you have excess gear at the end of the process, if you have excess helmets, both, as mentioned earlier, Surrey Cricket Foundation and Lord's Taverners will take any excess helmets that are collected and/or any excess cricket gear. If there is a substantial surplus after the sort of local collection events, then Lord's Taverners require gear to be packed and then shrink wrapped, and then they will physically collect from the location through their own logistics operation. There will need to be clearly, volunteer and stakeholder engagement and coordination, dependent on how many people are involved. Ideally, going out to schools and other groups to donate gear. Perhaps private schools in the local area may have excess gear, whereas the state schools and other underprivileged groups won't necessarily have gear, so they will be interested in receiving gear in collection. There'll need to be communications to members through internal lists, but then maybe to external stakeholder groups that you may be aware of, and maybe setting up press releases with the local press wherever you're based. Within the scheme itself, we provide a series of tools and forms, etc., that are freely downloadable, that I will highlight in a couple of minutes. So we have organized a whole series of tools and resources down to very basic forms to help administer and drive programs. And these are all organized and numbered to help manage the process in an efficient manner. And these cover best practice guides, briefing notes, tools to do surveys to get an idea about amongst your members, for example, of who can donate stuff, who wants stuff. Also, pointers around communications, and this recording will be made available, from the project website. So what I'll do now is to highlight a few specific guides, tools, and briefing notes to give you a bit of a flavour as to what are in these freely downloadable tools. So the first tool is a best practice guide that really gives a very brief overview over some of the key issues you need to undertake when setting up cricket gear reuse programs. Essentially starting to talk to people, having clear ideas about why you're doing this, and how you're going to do this, some outlines about costs, as we've highlighted before, some thoughts about planning the process and the events, and specifics on the donation and collection. So this, again, this guide is freely downloadable. We provide a few case examples to what the cricket program did in Yorkshire, and there's also some highlighting of, for example, posters that might be used to communicate the program. The second tool that is highlighted is a checklist, a detailed checklist that we provided to help, the planning process. Again, not all tasks may be decided to be progressed, but this is again just a pointer to help run, if you like, the project. So thinking about it as a project. So this is a checklist. You might add dates. There are tasks highlighted there. Need for responsibilities, etc., etc. What we've also prepared, again, for free and downloadable, is some donation forms to help collect data on the donations of items. So after the donation event, you in effect can calculate, what you have in stock, before you then start to offer at the collection event gear. So why is that important? Well, that's important because you need to know what you have before you start to offer to, for example, schools or other groups, and also to be able to sort of offer. You need to know what you'll have on offer for at collection events as well. From our point of view, we're really interested in any forms that you could share with us from your initiatives for us to help track the data on this. Particularly, we're interested if you decide to run a program. Be great for you to contact us. Details will be at the end, because we're really sort of keen to track the gear that is collected and distributed for people to help participate. What happens to that gear? How does it contribute to people's lives? So we're really interested in that data. What we've also got in the downloadable tools is some examples of posters that you can use. You can just print out and use, maybe to highlight the program. One of the lessons learned from the Lord's Taverners program is that it's really important to request clean gear and gear that is not damaged. And what we suggest is when the gear is donated, that you remove any gear that is not fit for purpose. You put that to one side. Lord's Taverners will particularly take that alongside the helmets for distribution. Overseas is because some of the requirements overseas for cricket gear, are not as stringent, particularly for hardball cricket, as in the UK. So Lord's Taverners will take any usable gear. But we suggest, in the local initiatives that you have programs in place to make sure that gear, particularly for hardball cricket, is still provides the personal protective function. So all these tools are available, freely downloadable from the project website, and which is highlighted here. And again, if you have any questions, if you'd like to communicate with us, if you'd like a specific briefing, please feel free to contact us. My details are here. The project details are here. So we look forward to you guys having a great program, and please be in contact if you decide to go forward. So thank you very much.